Welcome to the TryPod. It's the first rapid reaction show of 2025. We've just had the Vegas doubleheader. I wish I could join you guys on a more happy occasion because we lost the first best bet of the year. Narrowly, of course, with a very late try, of course, but used to it at this point after 11 years. I'm not going to take too much discouragement because it was a great game. Panthers Sharks. The best bet was Sharks plus 3.5. It hurts when you have a chance to win the game and you're catching the plus and you lose. And it also hurts when you are covering the line with 10 minutes to go and you look like you've got the team with a bit more momentum and the other side doesn't need to score again. So you don't have to worry as much about the other team scoring. But Penrith did exactly that off that scrum with about 3 or 4 minutes to play. Cronulla still got one more shot, but it wasn't to be. Penrith were better today than I thought. So let's just begin there. Let's talk about Panthers Sharks. Clarkey is really getting amongst the festivities, so he won't join me. So this will be a very quick recap of the two first games of season 2025. And it was, of course, a quadruple header. I'll just talk NRL today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, your instant reactions as well, guys. I'll put a few comments on the screen, and I'll interact where I can. But before Panther Sharks, there were 3 straight blowouts. Wigan, followed by the Canberra Raiders that I'll circle back to, and the Jillaroos. What did they end up, 90-4. The English might claim last try wins, but that was a great game for same game multis. And shout out the Undertaker, gave a few try scorer tips in the pod group. I think that all hit within about 15 minutes. Let's just talk about the best game of the day and the nightcap of the day, which was every bit a top 4 clash. And again, unfortunately, my best bet of the day was Cronulla plus 3.5. which goes down because the Panthers won 28-22. The game started looking pretty good for the Sharkies with some uncharacteristic errors by the Panthers, I felt. The Panthers, that let in the first try. Ramian crosses first and Sharks get first blood. And then after that, when the Panthers are trying to strike back, there's a try saver from Kennedy. That's one of your first controversial moments of the season. Was that a legit try saver by Kennedy? Or since he played at the ball, should that have been play on and therefore should it have been a try to Penrith and to Nathan Cleary, who jumped on top of that loose ball? 2 minutes later, Nathan Cleary actually kicks a 40-20 and Kennedy, again, you can say saves Cronulla, but actually on replay had a foot on the sideline. And so Cronulla had 2 let-offs in a row where Kennedy was involved, but you still can't fault the effort of Kennedy keeping Cronulla at that stage in front. However, Penrith deserved to even the ledger and, in fact, went in front 6-4 with that try to Isaiah Yeo, a 5th tackle option where Cleary's actually caught on the 5th play, but then Isaiah Yeo crashes over, gives the Panthers the lead. And then a bit of the story of the day was the Sharkies making errors straight off the tries. So earlier in the match, the Sharks couldn't find touch from a penalty. You can't make mistakes like that against Penrith. Well, after the Panthers did score a try, what did the Cronulla do? Kick it out on the full. And of course, Penrith compounds that error with a classy backline play. No, this wasn't the backline play. Sorry, this was the Cleary chip through ball that, a touch that his girlfriend would have been proud of to Tungo. However, with Cronulla getting that try similar, the kick in behind the rushing up defensive line by Tricky to send Nikora over. It was 12-10, and we're feeling okay. Again, plus 3.5. We feel like we're in the balance. And probably Penrith had the better of the first half and arguably deserved a bigger lead than 2 points. Cleary tried to double that, narrowly missed a 2-point field goal late. Then to start the second half, Cronulla had a great chance, or a couple of great chances, and really it was just the Sharkies denied by outstanding Panthers defense. And what Penrith were able to do in this game was just continue what they've done for the last 4 or 5 years, which is they can keep you out and they can defend as well as anybody, but then they can also make you pay down the other end. Penrith, that was the slick backline try. In fact, there were a couple in this game by Penrith. It's the sort of tries, the sort of execution that I didn't really expect in round 1 or even round 0. This try, similar to one they set up against Melbourne, where it's the double lead runners. Both of them go without the ball. the ball finds Nathan Cleary, then he throws the double cutout, and it's finished off by Dane Laurie. And as if that wasn't bad enough, the Sharkies then get the ball for their next set and give away a penalty in possession where Mulatalo runs in because he didn't like the contact by Martin, won't let go of him, sort of pulls Martin to the ground. And on the Sharkies' own line, it's a penalty Penrith. And you look back at this game, it's a one-try game. You sort of say, the Sharkies just absolutely shot themselves in the foot in that moment. And, of course, the Sharks paid the iron price again. Penrith scores straight on the back of that penalty. Another great backline play. This time it's on the right wing. And not only that, Penrith's just reminding you when they score in sixes. Cleary back-to-back, perfection with his conversions, sideline conversions, just like the backline execution, just spot on. You think everybody's going to be a bit clunky. You kind of think a couple more tries in the early rounds may just come from fatigue that naturally the players just don't have full match fitness. But this was Penrith as sharp as you expect them in a finals game, which probably goes to show how much the occasion meant and the intent that Penrith came into this game with, which I take my hat off to them. And I underestimated, which is why I've ended up with a best bet that lost. But when AFB scored to pull the Sharkies back in it, it was Iro that scored with 20 to go and AFB soon after that. Then you just felt like the fitter team will win this game. Like Penrith's got the lead, but Cronulla's coming home strong. And it had been a really high intensity match. So I just felt whoever's got a bit more juice will come through here. Isaiah Papali'i had gone off holding his jaw, not to mention it turned out only to be a lip cut. Not to mention, of course, Penrith lost McLean in the outside backs like a few minutes in. So I really felt this game was there for the taking for the Sharkies. And there was a period of time where just each of the teams could not hold the ball. There was a Panthers drop, and then the Sharkies a chance out wide to score. Sharkies spill it, but then an unforced error by Penrith. I think Laurie dropped it. Then Sharks got the ball back, got a 6 again, dropped it. Ash Klein went all the way back to saying the markers for Penrith weren't square, gave Cronulla a fresh set. First tackle, McInnes just loses the ball when he was sort of in the grasp of defenders. I thought that easily could have been a penalty. It went against Cronulla. But the game was just played for like 25 minutes under the shadows of the Panthers post, basically. And so while Cronulla got a couple of tries there, Penrith, held them out for the majority. As I said, Fanua Blake scoring a try in his club debut is so powerful. Even when there's no gap, if you don't have 3 men on him, he's a fair chance of bowling people over. And I think the key to the game that was decisive for Penrith was there was a bit of a back and forth. As I say, 10 to go, it's 24-22. So we're covering. We don't even need Cronulla to score again, but I thought there was every chance Cronulla would. Cronulla makes a half break on a kick return, breaks a break down the sideline, has a set on the Panthers line, and it's just a massive defensive set by Penrith. Like there's a couple of try savers in there, including swooping on Trindle, tackling him on last tackle. And I look at this game, and there's massive plays made by the Panthers, and it's all of the usual suspects. It's all those rep players, Isaiah Yeo, Martin, Leota, Cleary, Edwards, and most of them, just about all of them, have big defensive plays that set the tone, set the standard, and kept Penrith in this game. Cronulla could be one break, one extra moment away from winning this, but ultimately Cronulla weren't quite as crisp and as sharp as they needed to be when they did get good ball and got prolonged periods. And Penrith was clinical when given the opportunities, and that's why they came out on top. And in fact, straight after that set where the Sharkies are nearly banging down the door and Penrith holds on for dear life, and then Penrith counter punches, makes a half break. The Sharkies get a touch, it's a scrum, and it's a sickening blow for our best bet there with the Panthers score for scrum. So it's another backline play by Penrith, and that's Penrith's 5th try in the game. And it goes from a 2-point margin to a 6-point margin. And as I said before, the Sharks did get another chance because they recovered the kickoff, but Penrith kept Cronulla out. And I just have to say, if you look back at how'd you get that bet wrong, I'd say the Panthers were sharper in a season opener than I expected. And really, when I sort of broke this game down, I felt like I definitely expected a high intensity and high level out of Cronulla. And I thought, of course, Penrith at their best wins this game, but I think Penrith will have to be like 9 out of 10 or better to win. And I feel like in the first game of the year, that's less than 50-50 to me. But Penrith was awesome today. And as I say, probably showing that the Vegas occasion meant a lot. Penrith turned up, got the win, and dealt me an L to start the season. Previously, let's just speak a little more briefly about Raiders Warriors. This will be a quick recap, guys. There's some weird comments coming in. I feel like only every second comment it has anything to do with rugby league. So I'm not sure where this feed has gone out to. Zach says, as a Sharks fan, I'm devastated. We've signed Hines long-term, ghost mode in the big game. And ultimately, the big plays did seem to be mostly made by the men from the foot of the Blue Mountains. But let's move on to Warriors, Raiders, because I think the thing is, if you're a Sharks fan, you really aren't feeling too bad. You're going to look at it and say, like, we could have won that game. But saying we could have won against the 4-time premiers gives you a lot of confidence. And if you went into that game thinking that Penrith and Cronulla were both top 4 teams, your opinion would not have changed at all. So let me know if you had any other really strong opinions coming out of that game. Or the next one, Raiders Warriors. Like, is this, you never want to overreact to one game, but I went into this year saying I could make a case for all 17 teams making the 8. And I watched New Zealand play today, and I think to myself, geez, they'd have to improve a lot to win anywhere near half their games this year, New Zealand. And I had the Raiders a lot lower on my predicted ladder, but I could see an upside there. And this is a Cronulla team that's been there or thereabouts the last couple of years. They're young, and the young fellas looked a lot better than New Zealand today, who were pitiful. Comment here, I thought Hines was really weak, especially second half. So another one, another person disappointed in Nico Hines. But there's got to be a lot of Kiwis fans who are pretty disappointed in your WAS today, guys. And it wasn't really a case of mistakes. I mean, the error count, for example, in Canberra, New Zealand, which, if I didn't say before, finished 30-8 to the Green Machine. But basically, Canberra did so much more with the ball. And one stat that's telling is twice as many offloads. Canberra are willing to promote the footy and play footy, and New Zealand playing conservatively and sort of playing not to lose. Now, this game, unlike the second one, this first game, I felt like the referee really tried to stay out of it. So there were very few stoppages. And I think that led to New Zealand getting tired out. The Raiders only scored 1 try in the first 20 minutes, but it probably, should have been more. Ryan says Warriors were horrible. Don't think Raiders even played that well. I don't want to take anything away from Canberra, but I was going to say, let's hold our horses if we're suddenly going to say this makes Canberra a final side, just because I agree with Ryan's comment there that New Zealand was so bad. But as a positive for the Raiders, it really seemed like they had a lot of speed around the ruck. Like, it's a narrower field at Allegiant, but if you put your quick men in the middle third of the field, you can really ask a lot of questions of sort of some of those slower middles. Guys like, Starling from dummy half, Ethan Strange getting his hands on the ball first receiver, Kyo Weeks there for offloads. And in fact, it was a Starling break that set up that second try. It's basically Tommy Starling's 40-meter break that opens it up for the man who's had a hell of a week, Xavier Savage, to score in the corner. Congratulations to him. He proposed in front of the Bellagio, I think, yesterday. Not long after that, New Zealand has a chance to respond. It's a 3-on-2. The Warriors, you're only down 10-0, 3-on-2, could score. No, it's a Savage intercept. It's 16-0. It's a 90-meter try the other way. You basically felt that was the game, and that was only in the first half. And I know New Zealand did get one in the corner before halftime to sort of keep hope alive. But ultimately, you just love having footy back, so you're not going to be overly critical. But it was a bit of a fizzer of a game because the Raiders were able to essentially just defend their way to victory in the second half. And this was the annoying part and what had to be frustrating for Warriors, as Owen says, when Tamari Martin starts, maybe New Zealand will get my coin. Another comment here, the halves for Warriors really weak. I don't need to say much, guys. You've got it all covered. It's like you're reading my notes. Like New Zealand didn't even ever really make you feel they were going to get back in the game because for the exact reasons that I did highlight in the season preview 5 days ago, and I didn't have a best bet on this game. I should have probably followed my own logic, but there's no spark, no creativity at all in attack for New Zealand. And if you're looking to the Warriors and who's going to break this game open, who can break a tackle, who can draw a defender and throw that pass or come up with that kick. I mean, the best two ball runners, the most elusive ball runners on the Warriors are probably RTS and Tuapiki. They're both out on the sting. And then while they've both got enough carries, they're not getting the ball in any sort of space to do a lot with it. And then you've got Nickel Klukstar, who gets the ball in a bit more space, but he's not a playmaking fullback. And your best passing half, as Owen said before, is Tamari Martin, wasn't picked in your 17. I did think the Warriors looked a little more threatening when Dylan Walker came on, was at least probing, asking some questions. But basically, I'm looking at Metcalf and Harris Tavita and the fact that the Warriors felt this was their best halves combination. You hate to call for change after one game when you assume that a team has like formulated a plan and worked on these combinations in the preseason. But it's just very hard to see that halves pairing working. So you watch that game and you feel like that New Zealand has to change the plan because, as I said in the season preview, doesn't feel like this team has enough points in them. And while I was low on Canberra in my season prediction, I was low on New Zealand as well for that reason. John has looked at the markets. I haven't really looked at whether there's been adjustments on the I'm not sure about if any bookies are dealing round 2 lines, but John says Raiders were favourites for the spoon, but now Warriors already in to $8 and second favourites after the Dargans. And I agree, the Warriors were woeful. Project Spartan says that, yeah, they really missed a proper number 7, the Warriors. And I sort of agree without wanting to overreact myself because it is only one game and anyone can look good or look bad. And you don't know, like, are the Raiders really that good and would have made anyone look bad? But I tend to feel that my eyes told me the Warriors were awful today. And you've really struggled to see how far they could go this year. So let me know in the comments, like, are you putting a pen through New Zealand? Has New Zealand got any chance of making the finals where in round 1 or really round 0 of 27, you need to see a bit more? Do you still give the Warriors a chance? Or in a year where so many teams are competitive, you're basically willing to say New Zealand doesn't have enough to, as I say, to make the finals, you got to win half your games. And does that New Zealand team look like they're going to win half their games? I mean, I thought New Zealand's defense would be better today. They conceded 30 points, and the Raiders weren't even pushing in the second half. That's why I said the Raiders really defended the victory. But the Raiders are just completing Fogarty kicks, and that's it. James says no chance for New Zealand. Ryan, faith isn't high. John, Warriors, no chance. So I definitely appreciate that a lot of people feel strongly that way. That's how bad New Zealand were. And I have to say I feel really bad for the contingent of Warriors fans that travelled over there. Just so far off the mark. And you didn't play Penrith or, you didn't play Melbourne. You played another side that you should have been fairly evenly matched with. It's the same old story for New Zealand, unfortunately. In big games and in that favourite role, New Zealand lets themselves down. And I do feel bad for the supporters. And sorry to end on a down note, but pretty much whichever game. James says New Zealand never in at chance average. Like, I agree with all these comments, guys. So that was such a shame because I thought we could have got 2 cracking games. I didn't have a best bet on New Zealand Canberra because I didn't know which way it would go. I thought it should have been a lot closer, and I thought both sides would play with desperation and physicality. You talk about Vicious Fish turns up there and he's the captain and alongside Mitch Barnett, and that just sets a tone when you've got as good a 1-2 punch as anyone in the comp. But that was actually another observation I really had about this game is that I thought the biggest advantage to New Zealand, as JK enters the chat and he's done the throw up emoji, and we know JK is a staunch Warriors fan. I thought while there are advantages to the Raiders in this game, New Zealand will win the yardage, but that assumption was wrong. It was the Raiders with 5 of their forwards getting 100 plus meters and winning the yardage the whole way. And then you knew the Raiders would, of course, have the better halves. And the Raiders had the more elusive outside backs as well. So it was a complete win. And if New Zealand can't complete at a higher level and come up with more yards than an opponent, they've got no chance because of the lacking in the spine and lack of creativity and playmakers. So New Zealand's got a couple of weeks to sort of stare in the mirror and reevaluate. Canberra looks ahead to round 2, where I believe they may host Brisbane. I mean, that's already shaping up to be a really good game. I'd say Cronulla will understand that if had they been a bit sharper today, they could have actually got one over the defending premiers. But as for Penrith, they'll be very pleased. You've still got Blaze Talangi to come back into this side, and I'm not shocked because I've seen this for so many years in a row. I know how good Penrith can be, but I constantly marvel at the class and the level that this Penrith side can rise to. And it's like, I thought Penrith would struggle a bit last year losing Crichton because of how good he is. And Penrith didn't miss a beat. And this year, it's no Luai, it's no Fish. Toe didn't play today. It's like you barely notice that anybody's missing. And just those stars that we know that Penrith possess, for them all to come to the party and show up like they did today, they're just, who could say Penrith won't win 5 in a row? And I'm not changing my tip or anything off Storm off one game, but just another reminder that this Penrith side, if you back them, you very rarely feel silly. Even though I thought Cronulla was the right side today with the line, and the money did come for Cronulla a little bit. But as I said, I got dealt a loss today, and I'm feeling low, just like a lot of New Zealand fans out there would be. But congrats to Penrith and Canberra fans. Let's wrap it with some comments. New Zealand don't have a chance. Not enough attacking power there. Can't see it. And especially the travel, flying out for away games. John, I feel bad for the fans that gave them support in Las Vegas. When you look at where they can improve, you don't feel anyone can add much positive. That was pretty much their best team. JK, Jackson Ford shouldn't start. RTS to fullback, CNK to centre, Tamari Martin to halves until Tanner Boyd's ready. So I think there are cards that Webster can play, perhaps. And at some point, you have to if you're New Zealand, because today was pitiful. And John, Panthers surprised me too. Goes to show a champion team, always to be respected, gutted with the Sharks. I'm gutted as well. Of such a tough year, you'd love to come in and win that first narrow bet, but we can't control that. And it's a long year, and enjoyed the game and felt like we got it almighty shot with it. And we'll roll with the punches, because there's gonna be ups and downs this year. And I appreciate everyone that is going to join for any part of the journey along the way. I'll be back in just 2 days' time with Clarkey with 6 more games to break down. And I hope we can see you again then. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Lego.